Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the major and important lakes all around the world. We are going to discuss that how these lakes have formed and also what are the important features of these lakes and what are the important significance of the lake, especially for the people that are inhabiting these lake regions. So let us start first. The first lake that we are going to discuss today is the Lake Baikal. Now Lake Baikal is a lake situated in the Russia, in the Siberian region of Russia. If you look closely on this particular map, we can see this red line is the place where we have a Lake Baikal that is situated. If you look at the geographically on the northern side and the eastern side, Lake Baikal is surrounded by Baikal range, that is a important hill range, mountain range, example of a volcanic mountain range. While on the western side we can see it is a kind of plain area that makes up the boundary of the lake. So if we try to classify Baikal lake, it will be an example of rift lake. Rift lake is something that develops when we have a continental landmass, and due to the forces coming from below the earth's crust, this continental landmass start to break, and as this continental landmass start to break, what happens? We have a kind of rift that start to develop in this landmass. Gradually in this rift we have accumulation of snow, accumulation of water, due to which it converts into a lake. So that is how Lake Baikal have formed in the earlier times. If you look at globally, this is the 7th largest lake in the world as far as the area of the lake is concerned. The total area of this particular lake is around 31,500 square kilometers. The most important point about this Lake Baikal is that it is the largest freshwater lake, having 22% of freshwater in terms of volume of the global freshwater that is situated on the surface. Not only that, even if you look at from the chronological point of view, this is considered to be one of the oldest lake that we see today or that exists today on the earth's surface, as well as it is the deepest lake as of now on the earth. If we try to understand this from the figure, then the 1642 meter, that is almost 1.7 kilometer we can say, is the total depth of the lake, and overall the age of the lake is determined to be somewhere between 25 to 30 million years ago. Now if we look at this particular map, what we can see that this is our Lake Baikal area, and from this Lake Baikal area we have a river that emerges. This is the very important river that drains a very large part of Russia. It's called as Yenisei river. So Yenisei river actually originates from the Lake Baikal and then drains toward the Gulf of Finland. If you look at the people that reside in this particular area, we have a special tribe, we have a tribe that is called as Buryat tribe, and the reason that is why it's called as the Buryati region, where this Buryat tribe resides. Buryat tribe occupies a large area nearby the Lake Baikal shore, and most of these tribes are involved in daily activities of we can say herding, and they are kind of animal herders. They have a lot of sheep, goats, buffaloes and all these kind of animals, and that is how they try to survive and earn their livelihood. Apart from that, if you look at in this particular area, if you move slightly south to the Lake Baikal, you will enter into another country, that is the Mongolia. So it is very well near the border of Russia and Mongolia. Apart from that, because of its important ecological importance as well as the importance in the form of the volume of freshwater that is present in this lake, the UNESCO has in year 1996 declared this lake as one of the World Heritage Sites. This has actually helped a lot the economy of this particular regions, because as it has been declared as World Heritage Site and its popularity has increased, large number of tourists from Russia itself as well as from the other countries too, whenever they visit Russia, they do not they generally visit the Baikal lake region also. And it is due to this region, this particular lake is referred as a pearl of Siberia because of its important economic contribution in the local economy. However, the Lake Baikal is not free of concerns. So let us try to understand what are the major concerns that is plaguing this particular lake as of now. So first of all, the most important problem this lake is facing is in terms of water pollution. The reason behind water pollution is believed to be there are a lot of industrial activities that is going around this region, especially on the western side of this Lake Baikal, and one of the major industries that are situated here are the paper and pulp industries. Since paper and pulp industries requires huge volume of water for production and processing of paper, so for them it is an ideal place. However, at the same time, while taking the water from Lake Baikal, the paper and pulp mill industries also discharge a huge volume of pollutant, especially chlorine pollutants and other chemical pollutant, industrial pollutant in this particular lake. So that is why we are seeing increased cases of water pollution in this lake that can affect or adversely affect the biodiversity and the flora fauna of this particular region. The second important concerns arises from the recent decision taken by the Russian government, where they want to build up the world's first uranium enrichment center. Now, uranium enrichment center, it is believed by the experts that if it is built and completed and uranium enrichment starts, then only 10% of uranium that will be utilized here will be spent as or will be converted into fuel. Remaining 90% of uranium will or other radioactive waste will be there, that will have to be dumped somewhere near this lake areas, and that in the future can cause radioactive pollution. The third problem lies with respect to the invasive algal species that have covered a very large part of this particular lake area, and due to this invasive algal species that grow as very rapid rate, and again we can understand that the reason behind the rapid growth of this invasive algal species can also be contributed or can also be attributed to the increase in the pollution, because as the pollution, especially magnesium and these carbonates, all these kind of ions or materials start to increase in the water, we have a rapid growth of algal species that start to occur, and that is why they give a very putrid kind of smell, make the whole we can say ecology of the lake very bad, because if algae are spread over the water, the sunlight will not be able to enter into the water, and that will also cause less we can say decrease in the aquatic life of this particular lake. So these are three major concerns as of now regarding Lake Baikal. However, we have to make sure that a lot of steps are being taken both at the national government level as well as the international agencies are involved, where they are trying their best to ensure that Lake Baikal remains pure and pollution free. Now, after this, the second lake which we have to discuss, though it is named as Aral Sea, however by definition it is a kind of lake. The type of lake in which Aral Sea can fit into is something that is called as endorheic lake. So endorheic lake is just opposite of coastal lakes. In coastal lakes, what happens? We have the lake water that is continuously intermixing with the sea water, while endorheic lake is such lake which is completely enclosed by land from all the sides, and even if the rivers are coming out or going out from the lake, they not drain into the ocean. So it is the best example of inland drainage pattern as well as inland lake. Geographically, if you look at the location of this Aral Sea, we can see it is situated on the border between Kazakhstan in the north, and in the south we have Uzbekistan. Large part of this lake lies in Uzbekistan, which small around 8 to 10% of area of this lake come under the Kazakhstan territory. Apart from that, if you look at this, we have two rivers that is coming from Kyrgyzstan and one river that is coming from the China-Pakistan, this Afghanistan border is Amu Darya river and Sir Darya river. So these two were the most important river or major rivers that used to bring water, and that is why this lake actually developed. Once upon a time, somewhere in year 1950s, 1960s, this used to be the fourth largest lake in the world in terms of water volume. However, since 1960 to 1997, there has been significant decline in the size of the lake, and the Aral Sea become almost 10% of its original size. That means 90% of the area of Aral Sea shrank or became waterless. The main reason why it happened is believed to be because of the Soviet Union policy, where they wanted to make large number of dams and barrages over the course of this Amu Darya and Sir Darya river, which used to carry water to the Aral Sea. The reason behind construction of dam was because the Soviet government wanted to divert the flow of this river to the agricultural field areas where cotton can be cultivated. Cotton used to be one of the most important crops that was grown in this area, and even now if you look at the economy of Uzbekistan, around 17% to 15 to 17% of its export, agricultural export consists of cotton. So that is why as the dams were built up and the river were diverted, obviously since there was no other way how Aral Sea could have got its water, it has started to dry up. And this is, we can see from this particular map here, that this is the picture taken somewhere from 1960s, 1970s, where the Aral Sea is such a huge lake, huge sea. But we can see this is the picture taken from year 2018, where we can see this particular whole area has been kind of dried up. Only 10% of the Aral Sea remains as of now, and that is why you can see this is the picture taken from the coastal areas in the we can say shore of the lakes, where large number of such ships are abandoned and lying around. And due to this particular development in this Aral Sea, the Ban Ki-moon, earlier Secretary General of the United States, have considered this as the one of the world's environmental disasters. And to prevent and to acknowledge this, the UNESCO has also decided to put the Aral Sea into Memory of the World Register category. Memory of the World Register category is something that is a kind of classification done by the UNESCO, so that the coming, or the we can say the coming generations will be able to understand and will be able to appreciate that there used to be some kind of structures, whether it is a physical structure or some kind of cultural we can say processes or practices were there that used to happen before, but now due to certain reason started to decline or is dwindling. So, to preserve the memory of such physical and cultural features, UNESCO put different sites in the Memory of World Register, and Aral Sea is included in one of such. So, what about the future prospects of the Aral Sea? So, first of all, economically, the government of Uzbekistan has declared that since the full revival of Aral Sea is almost impossible, so that is why we should focus on the economic advantages that we can get from the Aral Sea. And that is why the government right now is focusing on oil and gas exploration, and for this they have signed a deal with lot of different companies, multinational companies, and as of now around 500,000 meter cube of natural gas is being extracted from these Aral Sea regions. However, the United Nations development programs as well as the government of nearby areas like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, all these have also joined hand together, and they have collectively launched a program that is called as Aral Sea Basin Program. The main objective of this particular program is so that we can take certain measures, certain remedial measures, that at least drying or more shrinking of the lake could be stopped, and if it is possible then the lake area could be enlarged by artificial means. At the same time, afforestation measures are also being taken around this Aral Sea areas, because what happens, the Aral Sea is a kind of desert now, it is arid zones. That means the soil or the sediments, or we can say the sand particles, that are dust particles that are located in the bed of Aral Sea will keep on, due to movement of wind, will keep on spreading more away from this Aral Sea regions, and due to this in the future we will have desertification of the nearby areas also. And that is why, to prevent desertification, the government has launched a massive afforestation program. So, these are three major we can say initiative that has been taken in three different areas around the Aral Sea regions. But what will the future hold for Aral Sea? We still have to wait and see. Now, after completing these two seas in the Eurasian region, let us come to another important sea, that is Dead Sea. Dead Sea, if geographically try to understand, this is the location of Dead Sea that we can see is situated between the two countries Israel and Jordan. However, if you look at the northern part of this Dead Sea, it is lying in the West Bank area. Now, West Bank is one of the regions that, though it is located in the Israel, it is controlled by Palestine. We have West Bank here, and on this side we can see near the Mediterranean we have Gaza strips. So, these two are Palestinian administrative area that is under the control of Palestine authorities. That is the overall location of Dead Sea. Some important points about Dead Sea is that, first of all, why it is famous? It is famous because it is considered to be the bed of the Dead Sea is considered to be the lowest point on the continental landmass, with base elevation of somewhere about 430 meter below the sea level. Not only that, the Dead Sea is also considered as one of the saltiest water body that is present on the earth, with a salt concentration of 34.3 parts per thousand. 34.3 parts per thousand tells us, means that around 34.3 grams of salts are present in per 1000 grams of water. That is a very saline water body. Now, the question comes that how did the Dead Sea form? So, Dead Sea has formed due to a process that is geomorphology called as continental divergence. Continental divergence is a process that goes on the surface of earth when two different continental landmass, also called as continental plate, start to drift away or separate away from each other. As these two land masses and continental land masses start to separate away from each other, a kind of gap is created in between them. This gap is later filled by the rainwater or any other kind of river flow and thus create a kind of lake. Dead Sea has been created in the same way, because if you look at on this side we have the Arabian plate, while on the western side we have the African plate. So, due to the divergence or due to the movement of African plate and Arabian plate away from each other, we have this gap that has been filled up by the Jordan river coming from the north, thus creating a small lake. So, what is the concern regarding Dead Sea? The same concern that we have seen with respect to Aral Sea can also be seen in the case of Dead Sea. Dead Sea has also been rapidly shrinking since year 1960s. If you look at this particular map here, you can see how the Dead Sea has been sinking, especially in the southern region. This region was earlier occupied by water, but now gradually it has been shrinking away, and now just a small channel is what just remains in this particular portion. The extent of shrinkage we can understand from this figure, that in year 1930, the area covered under Dead Sea was almost 1050 square kilometer, while right now it is just half, almost we can say 50-55% of that area, that is 605 kilometers square. To protect, ensure that the shrinkage does not happen or to increase the water of the Dead Sea, a project has been initiated by the government of Jordan, that is called as Red Sea Dead Sea Water Conveyance Pipeline Project. So, actually the Dead Sea is here, and to the south we have Red Sea. So, the project envisions that we will construct a pipeline connecting the Red Sea to the Dead Sea, and gradually what will happen, the desert area or the arid regions of Jordan, Israel, they can get water from this pipeline. At the same time, the salty water that will left behind can be transferred gradually to the Dead Sea, and its water can increase in the volume. Red Sea, due to its very high salinity, is also a very famous tourist place, because as the salinity of water is very high, its density becomes very high, and that is why it is believed that people cannot drown in the Dead Sea. Even if you go and even if you do not know swimming, if you go and lie on the Dead Sea, you will keep on floating, so there is no risk of drowning. That is what makes Dead Sea much more interesting. Now, after this, moving to the Eurasian and Asian region, let us try to understand a very important lake networks that collectively are called as Great Lakes and are located in the United States of America as well as Canada border. Geographically, we can call them that Great Lakes are located in the North American continent. So, Great Lakes is not a single lake, but it is made up of 5 individual lakes that are connected with each other by various waterways. So, if you look at this particular map here, this is the location of Great Lakes. On the upper side we have Canada, and this is our United States of America. So, it is made up of 5 separate lakes. The first is Lake Superior, which is believed to be the largest continental lake on the earth, with an area of approximately 82,000 square kilometers. Lake Superior is connected to another lake that is called as Lake Huron. Lake Huron connected to Lake Michigan, then Lake Huron also connected to Lake Erie, and then Lake Erie is connected by a small passageway to Lake Ontario. So, this Superior, Huron, Michigan, Ontario and Erie, these 5 lakes collectively make up the Great Lakes region of North America. So, if we try to understand the nature or the type of these lakes, this lake is believed to have developed somewhere around 40,000 years ago from now in the last glacial period of North America, that is called as Wisconsin period. During this period, what happened? We have the movement of glacier toward the northern side, toward the southern side, that scoured up or that excavated a large part of the landmass, due to which a kind of depression formed. And when this glacier retreated due to the warming of the environment, what happens? This whole scoured area was filled up by the water, the melt water of the glacier, and that is how all these great lakes have come into formation. Great Lakes is also believed to be one of the largest lake network that consists of the second highest volume of water, fresh water on the earth. In terms of area, that is around 22% of the surface water is present in the Great Lakes alone. Great Lakes, though they are a kind of inland lake, however, they enjoy or they have a connectivity to the Atlantic Ocean via a river that is called as St. Lawrence River. If you look from this here we have Lake Ontario, and from this Lake Ontario northward connected by St. Lawrence River, also called as St. Lawrence Seaway, and this is connected to Gulf of St. Lawrence. So, that is why it has also a very important place in the transportation activities of North America. Also, many of you might have heard about Niagara Falls, a very famous popular tourist destination, waterfall located in Canada and USA border, that also is situated somewhere in between these areas where the Lake Ontario is connecting to the Lake Erie. So, let us now try to understand the importance or significance of this Great Lake region for the North American populace. So, first of all, it has a very important contribution in agricultural production of this particular regions, especially if you try to look at the major agricultural crops that is grown around it, because it is a fresh water and we have abundant ability of water for irrigation, and that is why crops like corn, maize, soya beans and wheat are all produced around these plain regions that are located to the south of Great Lakes. Not only from agricultural perspective, but even from the mineral reserves perspective, Great Lakes have a very important contribution in the industrial development of North America, because these lakes are the region of massive reserves of iron ore as well as limestone. And it is due to this region, if you look at the industrial development in terms of iron and steel industry of North America, especially in the United States of America, we have large number of iron and steel industries located around this Great Lake region due to nearby availability of the raw materials, that is iron ore and limestone. Not only that, once industries have been set up, once the production has started, then obviously you will need a transportation network to move your products, and that is where the inland water transportation that has been developed due to the interconnectivity of these 5 lakes as well as the port connectivity via Gulf of we can say Lawrence. That is how this lake also plays important role in increasing the trade volume and trade communication between northern USA and Canada. If you look at this particular picture, you can see from here, these are the ships. A lot of such important waterways has been constructed between the lakes regions and the other regions, through which there has been continuous movement of ships all across the day and night that brings finished products as well as raw materials to different parts of the Great Lakes regions. That is how Great Lakes have a very important role to play, not only in the economy of North America, but also in the not only from the agriculture and mineral perspective, but also from the service industry and transportation perspective. Now, after North America, let us come back to the African regions. In African regions also we have a large number of lakes. These lakes are collectively termed as Rift Valley lakes. The location geographically, if you try to look at this, then we have this great Rift Valley areas around here. You can see this area is this red region which you see here. That is the place where all the Rift Valley lakes are located. As clear from the name itself, the Rift Valley lakes are the lakes which have developed due to development of Rift Valley, and as I discussed before, such kind of Rift Valley on the continent developed due to the process of continental divergence. So that is what is going on in Africa. On the northern side, we have the main African plate, which is also referred as Nubian plate. While if you move to look at this east, in this side this plate is termed as Somali plate. So what is going on in Africa since last 10 million years ago? The Somali plate or the eastern part of Africa is diverging away, moving away from this northern and western African plate. Due to this movement, that is also termed as neotectonics, that means new tectonic movement that has begun, the eastern Africa is separating away, the western Africa is separating away, and we have a series of rift valleys that has developed right from the Red Sea to the southern part of Africa. And it is in these rift valleys, water due to rainwater or due to flow of rivers have been able to accumulate, and that is why we have development of this number of rift valley lake that extend from Ethiopia in the north to Malawi in the south. So let us understand now that what are the major lakes that we can find in this rift valley areas. So overall, the more than 6-7 lakes are there. The 3 lakes are very important. The first is the Lake Victoria that is located here. You can see Lake Victoria is situated on the border of 3 countries. You can see Uganda in the north, Kenya in the east, and Tanzania in the south. Also, Lake Victoria is second largest freshwater lake in the world and is the largest freshwater lake in the whole African continent. Not only that, Lake Victoria also is believed to be the region from where we have the origin of the White Nile that joins to the Blue Nile and make up the longest river of the world, Nile River, that drains into the Alexandria, that drains near the Alexandria and Mediterranean Sea. After Lake Victoria, the other important lake that we can see that has developed in the Rift Valley region is something that is called as Lake Tanganyika. Lake Tanganyika is at the border of, again, three countries are there. We have Democratic Republic of Congo, on the eastern side we have Tanzania, and on the northern side it borders at the borders with the Burundi. The important point about Lake Tanganyika, it is believed to be the longest freshwater lake in the world, with overall distance or overall length of 676 kilometers. Coming more towards south, we have another important lake that is at the border of Tanzania, Malawi and Mozambique. The lake is called as Lake Malawi, and Lake Malawi again is believed to be the is the only one such freshwater lake which have a richest fauna in the world. Especially the number of fishes that are found here are very high, and it is believed that 14% of all the freshwater species of fishes that are present in the world, 14% of them are located just in the small area of Lake Malawi. So that is why it is also economically and biodiverse from the point of biodiversity is very important. So since these lakes are very important, the World Wildlife Fund for Nature, the WWF in short, have included all the lists, all the lakes of this great African Rift Valley into the global 200 list, that is priority ecoregions for the conservations. So this list is maintained by WWF. Apart from these three lakes, that is Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika and Lake Malawi, there are some other important lakes like Lake Albert, Lake Edward, Lake Kyoga. Then we can see in the northern side we have Lake Turkana, then we have Lake Meveru, and we have the Lake Rukwa. So overall we can see around 7-8 important lakes are there. Out of these, 3 are the most important ones that we have to know about. Coming to today's last lake that we have discussed, geographically some geographers do not dispute this fact and consider this not as a lake, while many geographers consider Caspian Sea itself to be a very large lake. Anyway, Caspian Sea is believed to be the largest inland body of water that is located or situated on the earth. If you look at the dimension, we can see it is almost 1200 kilometers in length and 320 kilometers in width, covering an area of almost 371,000 square kilometers. That means if we try to understand, the whole area of India is 32 lakh square kilometers. That means the size of Caspian Sea is almost 10% of the size or area of India. If you look at the origin or geology of this lake, it is believed to be the remnant of Tethys Sea. Tethys Sea is a very at earlier time, somewhere about 200 million years ago, the sea used to exist when the whole earth had only 2 land masses, the northern landmass that was called as Laurasia, the southern landmass that was called as Gondwana land, and in between we had this water channel, a sea. This small narrow sea was called as Tethys Sea. But as the components or the continental land masses of Gondwana land like Africa, India as well as Arabian plate started to move toward the Laurasia, what happened? These narrow seas start to disappear, and due to this, somewhere small areas are there where still we can see a remnant of this Tethys Sea is found. The Mediterranean is also believed to be one of the remnant of the Tethys Sea, and that is how the Caspian Sea is also believed to be the remnant of Tethys Sea. So naturally, obviously, since this used to be a part of sea, the bed of this particular Caspian Sea is made up of basaltic rock, not of granitic rock. That is something you have to keep in mind. If the lake has originally developed on the continental landmass, since continents are made up of granite, so the lake bed will also be made up of granitic rocks. But since Caspian Sea was actually a sea bed in the past, so that is why as of now even at the bed of this Caspian Sea you will find the basaltic rock. Now Caspian Sea, apart from being a very vast reservoir of water on the earth, however the water is saline in nature, there are certain other important points we have to keep in mind, that the development or the generation of Caspian Sea has happened somewhere around 5.5 million years ago in the present form, when the landmass in this particular area has uplifted and thus it also become landlocked. Earlier it was draining toward the lower side and eastern side, but now it has become landlocked. From economic perspective also, Caspian Sea plays a very important role, because almost 1.9% of total global output of natural gas it comes from the Caspian Sea alone. And that is why if you look at all the countries that are situated around the Caspian Sea region, we have countries like Kazakhstan, Russia, Azerbaijan, then we have Iran, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. All these countries actually take advantage, have their natural gas, oil wells and natural gas wells are there. From they are continuously involved in extraction and refining of the oil. Apart from that, we can also see one important project that has been commissioned is something that is called as a Baku-Ceyhan pipeline project or Caspian Sea Mediterranean Sea pipeline project that tries to connect the Caspian Sea in the east to the Mediterranean Sea on the west and passes through a large part of Turkey. So, it is one of way how the gas that is extracted in Caspian Sea can be transported toward the Mediterranean Sea, and from the Mediterranean it can it transferred to the Black Sea. This is your Black Sea, and from Black Sea then it can be transported further toward the Mediterranean Sea. So, that is why it is a very good this pipeline network that is helping all the countries around this areas, especially Turkey in general. Not only that, Caspian Sea also made a headline because it actually connects Iran on the north and then further it connects to the Arabian Sea. And due to this, there was also a project that was earlier commissioned by India, launched by India. It is called as International North-South Transportation Corridor, and it passes through this particular region itself. So, here we have Bandar Anjali port there, and on this side we have the other Iranian port, Chabahar port in the Arabian Sea. So, from Chabahar to Bandar Anjali, from Bandar Anjali to Caspian Sea, and via Caspian Sea to all the countries like Russia, and then from Russia to Ukraine and all other European connectivity could have been possible if the IAS corridor as well as Iran this gas line project and the Chabahar project would have come into picture. However, as of now there is not so much development going on regarding this particular project. Apart from that, one other point if we try to understand about Caspian Sea is that three major rivers are there that drain their water from the north. The largest river is the Volga river. Apart from that, we also have Ural river and Terek river. These three rivers collectively deposits 88% of the water that drains into the Caspian Sea regions. So, that is all about today's topic, the major lakes and the important water bodies across the earth we have discussed. We will again come soon with another interesting such factual and important information from prelims perspective. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.